My dad disowned me because someone stole my identity and exposed our family secret. Then my stepsister sends me a smiling emoji. Turns out, she's been planning this for 10 years. It all happened when my mom told me she was going to marry Paul. I was 13, and I knew nothing would be the same. I already knew they divorced because she had an affair with Paul, my dad's best friend, but hearing about the wedding felt like the final blow. My parents split when I was little, and as I grew up, I could see how it affected my dad. He never talked about it, but when her name came up, his face would tighten. He didn't need to say anything. I knew he was still hurt. I blamed my mom. I felt like she broke our family. Seeing her with Paul made me angrier every time. When she asked me to be the flower girl at the wedding, I couldn't believe it. How could she expect me to be okay with this? After that, I started acting out. I skipped school and hung out with the wrong people. I just wanted to get away from everything. And even though my dad didn't show it, I knew this news was hurting him too. My mom thought therapy would help, so she took me to see Sarah, a family therapist. At first, I didn't want to talk, but after a while, I started to open up. I told Sarah how angry I was at my mom. Then Sarah invited my mom to join our sessions. That's when I learned the truth. My dad didn't just drink a lot. His drinking made him violent. He'd come home drunk and take it out on her. She stayed for a long time, but it left her broken. It didn't make everything okay, but it helped me understand. For so long, I only saw my dad's pain. Hearing my mom's side didn't take away the hurt, but I finally saw why things fell apart. My dad getting drunk every night kept getting worse. It took a toll on my mom's health. She had no parents to help, and my dad's family refused to get involved. In a desperate attempt to save our family, she tried to get my dad help for his drinking problem. Sadly, he stubbornly rejected any support, choosing to drink every evening. His behavior became a daily ordeal, and it only slowed down when my mom found out she was pregnant with me. While my dad was happy about the news, my mom was scared about bringing a child into this chaotic environment. Realizing my dad wouldn't change, she was desperate for someone to talk to. This is where Paul, my dad's best friend, came in. She started to share her struggles with him, not hoping for him to fix things, but just seeking someone who would understand her. Paul was shocked by what my dad was putting her through, though he had suspected something due to my dad's violent behavior mixed with his drinking. My mom and Paul gradually became friends, and over time, they fell in love. After I was born, my mom and Paul made the tough decision to run away together. This is how my dad discovered that his best friend was involved with his wife. He tried to beg my mom to come back to him, but she refused. My mom told him how she had tried many times over the years to make him understand that his drinking problem scared her, but he refused to change. She stayed firm in her decision and eventually filed for divorce. As I grew older, I only knew his side of the story and that my mom had cheated on him with his best friend. My mom, out of love for me, shielded me from the harsh realities of their past. She chose never to discuss what my dad had put her through, aiming to protect me. I only discovered the truth through therapy sessions. At first, I doubted what my mom revealed. However, when she showed me pictures and evidence she had collected over the years, I was left speechless. Learning this truth shattered the image I had of my family. I questioned why she never filed charges or raised these issues during the divorce. She explained that she wanted nothing from my dad. She just wanted him out of her life. She had found her happiness with Paul and did not want to punish my dad further. The only reason she let my dad continue seeing me was because she did not want me to grow up without my father. Despite the pain my dad had caused her, my mom made it very clear to me that he had never hurt me in any way. I knew this to be true as my dad had always been supportive and loving to me. My mom did not want me to be angry at him. She also admitted her own mistake in falling in love with his best friend, which had hurt him deeply. After learning the truth about my mom's struggles, my relationship with her began to heal, and the anger that once consumed me started to fade away. I found myself understanding her choice to leave my dad. When my mom finally found the courage to share her wedding plans with Paul to my dad, it hit him hard. I stood by him, offering comfort as he dealt with the news. Dad decided to take a brave step by seeking therapy, working to change and become a better person. After months of counseling, he seemed to understand the mistakes he had made and sincerely apologized to my mom. Quitting drinking entirely, he worked to rebuild himself and foster a healthier connection with my mom and Paul. I chose never to reveal to my dad that my mom had confided in me the true story behind their divorce, as I did not want to burden him with additional guilt and remorse. Over the years, I have supported my dad, encouraging him to start dating again to find a partner. That's how he met Talia, who is now his wife and my stepmom. Talia has a daughter named Lisa. At first, Lisa and I got along well despite our 2-year age gap. However, our relationship started to change when I noticed she was very good at manipulating people. She could easily twist any situation to her advantage, whether it was lying to our parents to avoid trouble or deceiving strangers without hesitation. For example, one day when I was visiting my dad, I wore a lapel pin that my grandfather had given me before he passed away. Lisa, fascinated by its beauty, asked to borrow it for her upcoming graduation. I said no. Lisa started to cry, saying that since we were sisters, I should share with her. Talia tried to mediate, asking me to let Lisa borrow it for one day and promising nothing would happen to it. But I stood firm, and my dad supported me because he understood how much the pin meant to me. That night, while I was sleeping at my dad's place, Lisa stole my lapel pin. The next day, we searched the house frantically but couldn't find it. To my shock, the pin was found buried in the backyard. When I told my dad that I thought Lisa had taken it, he dismissed my suspicion, blaming the dog instead. This incident made me realize that Lisa's manipulation went beyond words and affected her actions too. After that, I stopped talking to her and avoided her whenever I visited my dad. As we grew up and went to college, I saw Lisa less and less. One Christmas break, while I was at my mom's place, my dad invited me over for dinner, saying he had something important to discuss. He mentioned that Lisa would be there too, and I reluctantly agreed to go. At dinner, my dad told us he was updating his will and wanted to include Lisa. He explained that I would inherit 80% of the estate, while Lisa would get 20%. The room went silent, and I could see Lisa was unhappy. She immediately asked why she was getting less. Dad explained that he had talked this over with Talia and Lisa's biological father. Talia added that she and Lisa's father would leave all their estate and investments to Lisa, ensuring her financial security. Lisa looked upset throughout the discussion. The rest of the dinner was quiet, and I kept to myself to avoid any confrontation. After the meal, we went our separate ways, and the topic was not brought up again. Back in college, I was working on my assignments when I got a link from my dad with the message, "How could you do this to me?" Confused, I opened the link and found someone had pretended to be me. They used my picture as their profile photo and posted a disturbing message on my dad's Facebook wall. The post falsely accused my dad of hurting my mom and included shocking, untrue details about their marriage. It ended with the impersonator wishing my dad dead to inherit his estate. I called my dad right away, but he started yelling. Unable to believe it wasn't me. Despite my explanations, he pointed out that the profile picture matched mine. His phone was ringing non-stop with calls from friends, relatives, and colleagues who had seen the post. Some were genuinely shocked and believed the false story. I urged him to report the post and guided him through the steps to remove it from his wall. Unfortunately, the damage was already done. The post had been shared by others who tagged my dad. Some actually believed the false accusations and started accusing him of being a wife beater. The news spread, reaching my mom, who was shocked. When she called me, I broke down in tears, explaining that it was not me. Thankfully, she believed me. However, the fallout with my dad was intense. He refused to talk to me no matter how much I tried. He insisted that I had shamed him by bringing something from his past which was now affecting his present. In the days following the incident, I learned from my mom that he decided to drop me from his will. Despite her pleas for reconsideration, he insisted that if I could tarnish his reputation to such an extent, then I was not entitled to his money. Although I did not care about the money, I was disappointed that my dad did not believe me. While grappling with the repercussions of my fallout with my dad, Lisa sent me a smiling emoji out of nowhere. I was confused and sent her a question mark, to which she replied that she was finally successful in taking everything from me. My eyes widened in shock as I realized that it was in fact Lisa who had been behind the post. You see, back when Lisa and I were close, I, as a naive child, had confided in her the real reason for my parents' divorce. I realized quickly that she had used this information, adding more lies to orchestrate my removal from my dad's will. I was beyond enraged and tried to get in touch with my dad several times trying to reveal the truth. But as usual, he did not believe me with just the one text from Lisa and accused me of trying to avoid responsibility. I kept begging him to see the truth but gave up when I saw he was adamant. I could understand how hurt he was and decided to give him his space, hoping that one day he would realize that it was not me. I could have tried reaching out to Talia regarding this, but I knew, like my dad, she would never believe me over her own daughter without any further evidence. Over the last 4 years, my dad and I have lost all contact despite my mom's many attempts to bring us back together. My stepsister's lies had broken my relationship with my dad. Despite these problems, I graduated from college and now work as a software engineer. Through therapy, I have realized that this was not something I could control, so I made peace with it. Last month, Lisa was arrested for card fraud. She had signed for a replacement card, pretending to be her mother, Talia. Using this card, she went on big online shopping sprees and trips, spending thousands of dollars from Talia's account. When the money started disappearing, Talia got suspicious and called the bank. The bank told her that she had asked for a replacement card a few months earlier because of a supposed theft. The bank traced the card and quickly alerted the police, leading to Lisa's arrest. When Talia and my dad rushed to the station, they were shocked to find out that Lisa was the thief. As the truth about Lisa's actions came out, she couldn't make any excuses for stealing from her own mother. My dad must have realized that if she could do this, she could do worse. So he refused to bail her out until she told him everything bad she had ever done. Scared of going to prison, Lisa finally admitted to creating a fake Facebook account in my name and posting mean things 4 years ago. My dad was shocked. My mom, informed by my dad of the truth, reached out to me to offer comfort. She assured me that everything would be okay, and my dad finally admitted his mistakes and saw the truth. Since then, my dad has been reaching out, desperately asking for my forgiveness. While part of me is relieved that he now believes me, I cannot help but feel sad. It hurts that he was so quick to cut me out of his life based on a post I didn't even make. My mom has been encouraging me to forgive him, and making me feel guilty for not responding to his attempts to make things right. Am I a bad person if I don't immediately forgive my dad and let him work harder for my forgiveness since he was the one who dropped me from his life 4 years ago? It has been 6 months since I last saw my mother because of my busy work schedule. Following advice, I invited my mother to visit so we could have a heart-to-heart conversation. This trip was much needed for both of us. During our time together, I opened up to my mother about how her insistence on forgiving my father was starting to bother me. I explained the hurt I felt when my father yelled at me and refused to believe that Lisa was behind the Facebook post. I recounted several incidents from my childhood where Lisa showed she could be a deceitful liar, yet my father consistently refused to see the truth. I expressed my gratitude for my mother's unwavering support and her willingness to believe me, especially when my father abandoned me. But I made it clear that I needed to let him back into my life on my own terms. The pain of losing him had been profound, and it took a long time for me to come to terms with the abandonment. Over the last 4 years, I have been working on myself, thinking my father might never learn the truth. Now that he has, the sudden barrage of calls and messages from him feels overwhelming. My mother broke down hearing me talk about how much I had kept inside. As we cried in each other's arms, she apologized for pushing me and promised not to do that anymore. She also said she would ask my father to back off and give me space. I am thankful for the support and love my mother has shown during her visit. We have been exploring museums, attending art shows, and I even took her to see my office building. Seeing the proud smile on her face fills me with immense happiness. It has been 2 months since my last update. Not much has changed except that my dad has reduced the calls and texts. Instead, he sends a weekly email sharing his week and talking about my childhood. Reading them always makes me sad, because it makes me wonder how he could let a misunderstanding strain our relationship. Through his emails, I have also learned that Lisa is going to mandatory counseling. Talia decided not to press charges after Lisa promised to change. I am skeptical because of her past, but I hope for my dad's family's sake that she truly changes. I have been sharing my feelings with my therapist and gradually accepting that my dad might really regret his actions. While my therapist encourages forgiveness, I am determined not to forget the past and have stronger boundaries with him this time. As the new year approaches, I have decided to fly back to my mom's place. During this visit, I am thinking about reaching out to my dad. We will see how things go and whether we can find a way to rebuild our relationship. I decided it was time to talk to my dad about everything that happened 4 years ago. I invited him out for coffee so we could have a one-on-one conversation. When the day came, we met at a local cafe. The air was filled with unresolved feelings. I was very nervous seeing him after so long. My dad hugged me warmly, but I stayed calm and serious. As we sat down, my dad looked at me with regret and longing. He started apologizing sincerely. He admitted the pain he caused by not believing me and cutting me out of his life. He shared how the fallout from the post had affected him badly. Friends, relatives, and coworkers blamed him, hurting his reputation. He was deeply disappointed and ashamed of how he had treated my mom and wished he could change that. He thought he had paid for his mistakes when he found out my mom had cheated on him. He shared that when I was born, he felt the need to be a better man for me and worked hard to make that happen. However, when the post surfaced, it shook him deeply, making him doubt how I truly felt about him. He had no idea I knew about what happened between him and my mom. His biggest disappointment was that I had not talked to him directly, but chose to post it on social media instead. Coming from a different generation, he didn't know people could pretend to be others online. The detailed information in the post made him believe it was really from me, leaving him feeling completely blindsided. At this point, I interrupted, revealing that my mom had told me about their past during our therapy sessions. Sadly, I shared this information with Lisa, who used it against me. My dad nodded in understanding, his face showing regret and remorse. Watching him express remorse, tears filled my eyes, realizing the weight of his admission. During our talk, my dad also revealed that after discovering Lisa's deceit, he updated his will. Surprisingly, he decided to leave the entire estate to me. While I hadn't thought much about his will, this act felt like meaningful validation. It showed that my dad finally believed me and that Lisa could not manipulate him anymore. He continued to beg for forgiveness, promising never to let anyone come between us again. The sincerity in his eyes was clear. I decided to put the past behind us and hugged him, taking a small step towards rebuilding our broken relationship. Since our talk, my dad has been consistently showing deep regret and actively working to mend our strained relationship. He is overjoyed about our reconciliation, often inviting me to dinner, which I gladly accept. Talia, Lisa's mom, has reached out to me, offering a sincere apology for her daughter's actions. Despite the past, I do not hold any ill feelings towards Talia, as she too was a victim of Lisa's manipulative behavior. The path to forgiveness is complex, and while I am willing to rebuild our relationship, I am determined not to forget the lessons learned and to ensure healthier boundaries moving forward. We are all slowly finding our way back to a more peaceful family dynamic. It is a work in progress, but I am hopeful for the future.